Welcome, everyone. I can't believe it's December already, and so we here we are on the third week of the month, and Eddie Capparucci is joining us. He talks about getting to the other side, and so our topic for today, Eddie, is
Whatever. No, I actually, I do, as you know, I could always come up with something to talk about. But by the way, I love your new background there with the
thank you.
seeking
Yes,
integrity.
I'm gonna share. I like this one a lot, so thank you.
Very
Yeah, I
nice.
can point to websites.
Very nice. Yeah. So today, what I do want to do, because we never get a chance to answer everyone's question. So what I do is I'll encourage you to put your questions in now. Where do you want them? You want them in the Q&A? You
In the
want them in the chat?
Q&A at the bottom of your screen, if you would put them in there, it makes it a lot easier for me to follow. If we've got resources, if we're talking about a book or something like that, I'll put that in the chat. But if you would put your questions in the Q&A, they will be asked. You can even type them in as anonymous attendee. So, but if it would be helpful for us to know if you're the betrayed partner, if you're the person struggling with the addiction, if discovery was, 3 days ago or 3 years ago. I mean, if there's some context, we don't need a lot, but just a little bit of context can be useful
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And we've for those in the US, we've been through Thanksgiving. I've had a number of phone calls where people had some real struggles with that, and we're heading for some more holidays. So if you're kind of going, how do we navigate that? I mean, those are questions that are real, and we'll do our best to
Hmm.
help you navigate that to the best of your ability. So anyway, questions in the Q&A, but
We go from there. Speaking of new books, there is Why Men Struggle to Love, Overcoming Relational Blind Spots. It is not available yet. Okay, this is an advanced copy. There are some people who do have some copies. I've gotten great feedback. It should be out next week. Okay.
great.
So if anybody wants to be
Why don't you
notified when
talk
it
a
does,
little bit about that? Why don't you, because we don't have questions yet, why don't you talk about, I think I have that already posted on our website. But yes, please talk just a little bit
yeah.
about what it is.
Well, basically, Tammy and people who've been here, they've listened to me in this program for the last year and a half or whatever. You know how much I have understood, or I've come to realize that many people who struggle with addictions also have what I call the low emotional IQ. And with that, they have a struggle to emotionally connect and relate. And the problem we now have when it comes to addictions is that we know that one of the leading drivers, especially in the area of sex and porn addiction, is that people are what they're really seeking is emotional connection, emotional intimacy, and they don't know how to obtain it. And the reason being, and what the book does, it goes through in pretty a lot of detail of the various steps of childhood development that were missed. We missed them for whatever reason, whether parents didn't have it themselves, they didn't have the knowledge, or perhaps they were distracted by life, or perhaps we lived in an environment that was very chaotic. But without those tools that we needed, we don't have the skill set to be able to bond in a healthy way. So with that, what I came up with, and most of you folks you've seen it already, are the what I call 14 blind spots. And it is those blind spots that we need to start to soften or remove from our lives in order to be able to connect with other people. And basically that's what the book is about. It's outlining how we got here, but then more importantly, how do we move on? How could you don't have to live your entire life with a low emotional IQ. I had one. I my wife sometimes says I still do, I was at this end of the spectrum over here and I moved there. And that's where I am. And hopefully I'm moving a little bit more every day. I'm not going all the way over here because I didn't have all those tools delivered to me at that age that I should have, where they would have really taken hold. For me, it is being very mindful of what I'm supposed to be doing on a regular basis. And, I don't have that. I just had a client who just shared a story with me. He, the woman wasn't an affair partner, but she was someone who he had a lot of sexual fantasies and things about at work. Well, he hadn't seen her in a long time. He disclosed it to his wife. Well, they went to a play last month, and when they got there, his wife went off to the bathroom, and he was there. And who walks up except it's this woman? And he's like almost in a panic. And she says, "How are you?" He goes, "I'm very good. Have to go." And he went into the bathroom. Great. He did a perfect job with that. Okay. Didn't engage her. He then tells his wife, "Great job. Hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, so and so is here." And his wife's like, "Really?" He goes, "Yes, it is. I'm sorry about that." And he goes, "But let's go sit down. Let's go get our seats." And that's where he makes the mistake. This is the idea of not being, because what he's fearful of is that this information is going to ruin the evening. That's what he's fearful of, which rightfully so. But what he doesn't do is when he tells her to say, "Come walk with me. How are you feeling that I told you this? Are you being triggered by it? Do you want to go home? Do you rather not stay? I'll be fine if you would prefer to do that." He doesn't check in with her. All he says is, "Come on, go sit down. We'll talk about it when we get home tonight." Now, she wasn't overly triggered by it, but yet what she was triggered by was the fact that he didn't probe deeper to find out, hey, how are you here? Because why? He was still internally focused about, "I don't want to ruin the evening. Let's just move on. I told you, I did what I was supposed to do. Let's just move on." He doesn't have those conscious thoughts, but that's his inner child that's driving him there. And those are the things that, when it comes to this book, that's what we're discussing. How do you think deeper about what someone really needs from us? Because I think, guys, remember I shared with you, most of us are in our own little world like this. That's our world. Okay, right here. Because nobody challenged us to look at this world when we were younger. So we stay here. So he's been moving to expand his world. He runs into this woman, bang, he goes back here. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Because now his wife looks at it and says, "Well, okay, you're no longer doing the bad things you said that you were doing before. But am I really seeing a change in the man?" And that's why, if you think about it, being sober is not enough. It's not enough. It requires more, because at the core of all of this, and again, one of the things that we don't learn in those early years is to be able to sit with our emotional distress, and therefore we make hasty and immature decisions. And that's what, there's a lot of emotional immaturity that's going on. So again, that's what the book is about, Tammy. And as I said, it should be out next week. And I really believe it's going to be pretty beneficial to a lot of people.
And I was thinking, like that nobody challenged them on broadening, and it could be there wasn't safety to have it. I mean, there's lots of reasons. So it isn't just that there wasn't somebody going, hey, you've got, like, there's a lot of reasons why, like, the world isn't safe. And so you end up, going into this very small, small
and
place.
I think I outlined a lot of them. I probably didn't get all of
Yeah.
them, but I tried to outline most of the reasons why, this had occurred to us.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because it really, again, I've said before, it's about, we're not living, we're existing. We're
I
existing.
say that all the time to addicts. I was like, if you could, like, if they could just magically see how good life is in recovery. I talk about abstinence, sobriety, and then recovery. And just stopping the behavior is, the hanging on by the fingernails. It's awful because you don't have the, the numbing out that you had with the active addiction. You're trying not to do that, but you don't have any of the tools. So what I hear you saying is this is another component of helping them get tools to be able to do life differently. And the whys are all interesting, but I know lots of people who know why and they still act out.
Mm,
So it really is about stopping the behavior and then addressing all of those
that's
issues
it.
so that you have the emotional maturity, you have the ability to step in, to be okay with being, I'm uncomfortable in that situation,
Mm,
that was created. And in that moment that happened, so what do you do with it? And not just going to the same problematic behavior patterns that
right,
that, but I mean that's what's known, so that's what happens.
right. But
So
again, it goes back to, you're right. You could know all the whys, which empower you, but if you don't use that power, then what's the point? I mean,
right.
and again, that goes back to another issue I want to talk about today, because one thing I've been noticing a lot more um, with a few of my clients is that there's still a lot of struggle with men who they're no longer acting out, but yet, of course, the spouse is grieving. And when the spouse begins to grieve, these men, instead of having the confidence, stepping forward, being there, they start to collapse. They start to wilt. Their shame kicks in, their guilt kicks in, and they just want to shut the whole thing down. And that is so problematic on so many fronts. But most importantly, they don't see that what's happening when she's grieving is she's healing. Feeling. Again, they look at it as a threat. And that goes back to, again, the lack of the things in childhood development. I can't sit with that pain. This is threatening. What do I do with it? Well, I have to see what it is based on reality. And they're not. And so what happens is, now, we have this argument that's taking place, and we shouldn't be arguing with it and with what's going on. I mean, right now it should be someone grieving, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be empathetic and I'm trying to validate and such. All of that, and this is the thing I think that men are having a problem with, and even women who have betrayed men too. This is what I think going on is that I think they believe that the tools that we're giving them this is going to work every time. This is going to work every time. Validate what you said, you know, be there for them. It'll be fine. And that's not reality. It's not reality. Yes, the tools are effective, but it also depends on what is the intensity of that grieving that we're going through. If it's a minor grief period, those tools are extremely helpful. If it's moderate, they're somewhat. But when it gets to a point where we are really escalating, those tools are just there to try to help the situation. Men, I say men, you guys know that where I work with men, but they almost have this mindset that, oh, I'm going to help to regulate her. I, great. I wish you could, but that's not what's going on. That's not the role to regulate her. The role is to be able to just I can sit here with you in your pain. I can sit here with you in your pain. Now, that's up to a point. Because when we start working into after 1 hour, and we're in hour two and a half, now again, men are completely flooded. And therefore, we have to be able to take a break. And ladies, I understand when you get escalated like that, it's difficult. You think he's running away. He's not. Sometimes you just need to take the break, because if you stay, you guys are going to clash. And that's the last thing he wants to do. He doesn't want to argue with you, but he needs that breather so he can go evaluate, process, and then be able to come back. So I ask you, please, if he tells you, and yes, I know there's some guys who are jerks and they use it as an excuse to say, "Oh, I can't take this, I'm flooded," and then they just run away. That's not the case. They're supposed to say, "Look, I will come back," and in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they will come back. So I've seen a lot of that lately coming to the forefront, where once again, the men are struggling to be able to sit and deal with the pain. And I think in part because maybe their expectations are off, that if I use these tools, she will regulate and we'll be good. And she'll be wrapping her arms around me and we'll be happy. No, that's not what goes on. So let's make sure that we have good expectations there. I don't know, Tammy, if you have anything you want to add to
Well, I
that.
do. And I was like, I think it's really good to have a plan when you're not in an escalated moment, to have the conversation and be able to say, we are going to get to this. This is going to happen again. Like at any relationship, there's issues. So when we get to those, rather than having it be a 2.5 hour and having it continue to devolve, we're going to, either one of us can say, we're going to take a time out. We're going to go call our sponsor, take a walk. We're going to do whatever, mindfulness, whatever we need to do to help us regulate. And then we're going to come back and, continue the conversation, rather than it, be, just something that doesn't happen. And I see the questions. I'm going to take what about the role of actual biological co-regulation? Can't the addict actually help co-regulate the partner if he conducts himself empathetically?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to
And then
do. Go ahead.
there's a little
Go ahead.
comment. Here we go again with more. How to tiptoe around the
Tiptoe around
attic.
the attic. I
I'm
know. I
sorry, that is
understand.
so not the case. Yeah.
But it is not my case.
No.
What I'm trying to do, and again, if you heard what I said first, was that they're supposed to be there. They're supposed to
Yeah.
be empathetic. They're supposed to do this, but there are times when they just start to collapse. I'm trying to keep them from collapsing. All of us who do this work are trying to get them that confidence to be able to stay there as long as possible with you. That's what we're
Right.
trying to do. But
Right.
not just to be there with you, but again, to have that empathy, to do them. I don't want those who've been betrayed, I don't want you tiptoeing around at all. And I'm sorry that you misread it that way or misheard what I was saying. But there is the time, reality. Let's talk about reality. Men get flooded much more quickly than women do. That is just a fact. And so therefore, if you see your spouse, the husband, getting flooded, it is best for both of you, and even for your trauma. Because why do you now want to engage with him if he's going to start being argumentative with you? If he's going to start arguing with you? Well, do you really want that? I mean, you're going to be sitting here and saying, "You're arguing with me. I'm the one who's hurt. And now you're sitting here screaming at me." And if we would have just said, take a break 5 minutes before that, that would have happened. And again, it's up to him to be able to tell you, "I'm walking away, all right, but I'm coming back. I'm coming
I think
back," and
it's
you have
fair
to
for
come back.
either of them to take a break.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you
like,
know
yeah,
what? Yes, it is. But usually you don't see the person who's betrayed taking that break that often. But you're right.
and that's true. But and if it's a female addict, I think we have the same issues with emotional
Absolutely.
bandwidth. So it isn't just it's an addict, and it's not about tiptoeing. It's what are you hoping for? What is your goal? If your goal is to be in a 2.5 hour fight, then absolutely continue. If your goal is to help heal the relationship, help you both be in a spot where you can be partners and moving forward, then maybe doing something different than has been tried, could be effective. This is all choices and options. Like, you take what you need and leave the rest. We are hopefully giving people some skills to be able to do life differently.
Yeah. I mean,
I hear so often from men who are saying, they become defensive, they start gaslighting, they shut down, which doesn't help, and they're like, I hate that I do this, but I don't know how to not. And
right.
so so you're saying, here's some ideas on how to do this differently, so that maybe next time they can be there 5 minutes longer before they need to take a timeout. And then the
Right.
next time, maybe it's 10 minutes longer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a growing process. This is not
Right.
about like, oh, I got abstinent and now I'm going to have all kinds of emotional empathy, and I'm going to be so good at all the skills that I use my addiction to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
That
Right.
isn't reality. So
And we see in the questions that the person who left that comment continuing here, which is good. I'm glad. It said this is supposed to be a couple seminar, but so far it's focused on the addict and telling the betrayed partner how to lower her expectation and change her
mm,
approach. Once again, I'm sorry, but that's incorrect. What I'm doing is I'm trying to prevent him from getting in your face and starting to scream and yell and carry on. I don't want that, because you don't deserve it. You've been through enough pain. You've been through enough anguish in your life. So all I'm saying is let's deal with reality here. And besides, also, most of these shows, if you go back and look at them, I'm the guy here sitting here and I'm beating up the person who's been the betrayer. Okay. And I think if anybody who knows me, they're going to tell you, yes, he's pretty harsh with these guys, because I was one of these guys, and I know what you need. And when I see the men can't deliver it, it troubled me. It bothered me. Okay. And I'll sit there and I will tell my client, you know what? You're just lying right now. You're a liar. Okay. Probably not what they really wanted to teach me in counseling, school back then. But I feel, you know what? We have to be real. And I got to be real on the other side too. So therefore, if he's saying, you know what, this is just becoming too much for me, just say, fine, go. But I hope you're not running away from me. I hope you're not running away from this argument. I hope you're going to come back and we're going to continue to talk about this, talk about my pain. The thing I tell every person who is betrayed is, when you're dealing with your spouse and you're seeing what you think is hostility, you have to change your mindset, because what you have to see is pain. It is not hostility. You caused that. All right. So therefore, it's up to you now and your responsibility for what you're doing and trying to be a different individual, to be able to sit there and be able to help them by listening, answering questions. I don't care if you have to answer it for the 10,000th time. You're going to answer the question, because it's not about you right now. It's about her. But also to make the process so that we know it's more productive. There are things we can do to lessen the impact of a possible conflict. Like Tammy said, it depends on what your objective is. Okay. And I will say this, and I know you're going to get even more angry with me, but I'm sorry. There are some women, and I think even with men, there are some men who have been betrayed too. Okay. Who it's no longer about the healing, it's about punishing. You're going to pay for what you did, and you're going to pay for it every damn day for the rest of your life. And I've seen it. I've seen it, people 10, 15, 20 more or more years, and there's no peace. There's
for
no
either of
peace.
them. And that's
Either
so,
of them.
yeah. I was like, so you're basically condemning yourself to the,
Absolutely.
to this too. And I was like, I live in recovery. I am happy, joyous, and free most hours of most days. Of course, there's life and, there's stuff, but, I don't have to live in that. And, and when there is relationship conflict, because there always is, I can decide, is this a relationship that's important to me and I want to continue to step in and resolve it? There are some relationships that, we're just toxic and, I'm not friends, and that's a choice. But for the
Right.
ones that like where I want to be in relationship with them, I want to do the work so that we can move forward in a meaningful way, and that it isn't just about conflict and that would be torn. I live in serenity as much as I possibly can. Having a 2.5 hour fight repeated would not be good for me nor the other person, because I can fight. I can, I can go there. That's not who I want to be. I mean, so that would not be congruent with who I want to be. So
Right. So, and again, you know what? I'm sorry for your pain. I'm sorry
yeah.
for what you got through. I really am. I wish, again, I had pixie dust I could throw on you.
Yeah.
That'll all go away, but I don't. I'm just trying to make everyone's life a little bit more, as Tammy was saying, peaceful. Yeah.
So somebody does ask, can you hold your book up again, please? Because somebody asked, they missed the title of the book. So
yeah, it's called Why Men Struggle to Love, Overcoming Relational Blind Spots. And like I said, it should be out next week.
Reparenting the inner child. So, and we are going to get to all the questions. I apologize. I'm jumping around a little bit. Is there a reason men get flooded quicker, biologically, hereditary?
It's neither of those.
Yeah.
It's neither of those. The reason men get flooded is because, again, in most cases, it is, think about how men are taught, how we're raised. You know what? Don't cry over things. Buckle up. Be stronger. And because of that, when heavy emotions come at us, okay, it's like, what do you do with these things? That's why that book, women are from
Venus,
Mars,
men are from Mars.
Men from Mars, right? What was that all about? A lot of it was because men try to fix the problem. What are they trying to fix the problem? Because they're trying to shut it down. I don't want you to get more emotional with me. I don't know how to handle it. And now many of them are being put in a situation of their own doing, where they have to deal with emotions like they've never seen before. And they don't know what to do with it. So what we do, and I think I've said this before, when I start working with men, I would imagine about 50% of my time is spent teaching them how to help their spouse heal. We're really focusing on that, helping them to see the pain and not hostility that comes at them. So therefore, again, men were just not conditioned. And when I say men, it's not all men. It's like an 80-20 rule. There are some who are very, very good at doing all of that. But for the most part, that's what goes on when it comes to men getting flooded.
Yeah, and I will own, as a female, when I came into recovery, I could not handle, good or bad, I could not handle emotions because I had so numbed them out. And so it was very uncomfortable, unpleasant to learn to deal with that, and to be able to have the space to tolerate, to just go, I'm going to survive this. It's going to be okay. I mean, like, I had to do that, it's going to be okay. I can, I can do this, to just tolerate any kind of strong emotion, it was just difficult. So
because what's happening there, Tammy, because we don't have the skill set to be empathetic and stuff, we're just looking at it and saying, I'm in trouble, versus looking to say, ooh, you're hurting. Tell me more about what. No, it's just like, I'm in trouble. And that's why I try to teach the guys, you don't go there. You can't go to that mindset.
Okay, so we're going to start at the top of the questions now, because I was bopping
Okay.
around a little bit because they were kind of following what we were talking about. So the first question starts with both betrayed spouse and SA here, married 40 years,
Yeah, good to
discovery
see
was
you.
6 months ago,
Oh,
therapeutic full disclosure a month ago. Do you have suggestions on how to talk through some details of the formal disclosure without triggering shame and defensiveness in the SA? That's a good
okay.
question and
It,
challenging. So yeah.
it is a good question, but again, this comes back to again, with the essay that you know what this situation got created. You created this situation. Okay, I know you feel the shame, but that shame is not going to help this situation at all. And that's why when you're not talking about the disclosure, you have to be working on your shame. All right. And the thing that'll help you the most with that is that you are doing a comprehensive recovery program. This way you could sit there, you could say, yes, you know what, I've made mistakes, but I'm learning and I'm changing and I'm becoming a very different kind of man. I'm hoping that I'm going to be that different man. Because again, we're just 6 months in, we've got a long way to go, but that's where I want to go. I want to be him. And with that, that helps to build your confidence because you say, yes, look at the work I'm doing. Look at the changes. And again, not just in getting rid of that destructive behavior, but changing the heart, the transformation of the heart, which is what the new book is about. And with that, then you go into a conversation and say, okay, we're going to talk about the full disclosure. And before you get into that conversation, okay, give me a minute. I'm here for her. This is not right now. This is not about me. This is about her. It's about her pain, her healing. It's not about me. She's going to bring up stuff that's going to hurt me. She's going to bring up stuff that's going to be, I'm going to feel bad about. I'm going to feel guilty about. I'm going to feel shameful. But no, I can't be there. Because then what it does, that means I'm going to allow my emotion to trump hers. And I can't do that. The other thing here too is if that happens, which it probably will happen, is to say, all right, can I have 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. And you go, you take a break, and you do just what I said just a moment ago again. And you go back and you say, okay, I'm making it about her. This is all about her. I'm here to help. And if you have to do that 3, 4 times during the time you're talking in that session about the you do it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that, Tim.
And I have a couple thoughts. I'm curious about the details because you said the details of the formal disclosure. So if you're asking for gory details, like I would strongly encourage you to work with your therapist on what it is you're asking about and why you're asking. If it's safety, I mean, like there are certain things that are absolutely legitimate, but I also want to make sure you don't get more traumatized. There's a reason why a formal disclosure is short and more, more data, not gory details. So, but if it's safety, like you need to know that, I'm making this up, the affair partner was, your next door neighbor. I mean, that type of thing, you absolutely should have gotten in the formal disclosure. So I'd want to make sure that you're safe, the partner is safe. And it may be some of that stuff that you need to do with professionals, especially early on, because after 40 years and only 6 months, he is probably a long ways from really having good tools to be able to use, to do this really well. So setting it up for you to get what you need safely, it may be worth having another session with your qualified professionals, kind of a follow-up, on the formal disclosure. So that's, again, your safety, you getting what you really need, but understanding what it is that, why am I asking this question? What is it I'm looking for? Could be really helpful for you too. Because if it's like about safety, you may be going, I still don't feel safe. I've done a formal disclosure and I still don't feel safe. That's a bigger issue than just getting a detail off of a formal disclosure. So
Yeah, absolutely. Good suggestions.
Okay, next question. Do you have a few key examples, methods of sitting in the pain? Oh, this is a good question. And I know you help guys learn to do this and not getting lost in the shame. I realize that the question may seem mechanical. However, as someone who has not been able to sit in pain, I am looking for any way to try and stay in the arena and not run.
Right.
Thank you for
Yep.
asking.
Good question. Okay. So I'm Italian. I use my hands a lot. My hand. This is my pain, right?
Mm.
Here's my
Hold your
pain.
hands up a little higher.
There you go.
There you
Look,
go.
you know what I
Yeah.
do? Move it
Yeah.
there.
There you go.
This is my pain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit whatever it is. Okay. That, you know what? I messed up. You know, I was supposed to, no, fair partner called me. I didn't respond, but then what I did was I deleted, the thing. Well, my wife somehow found out that it was there, and I feel awful. I feel embarrassed. I feel like I failed her. I feel like, it just takes me back to this idea that I'm never going to get it right. I sit there with this for a moment, 5, 10 minutes, perhaps. You're not going to sit here with it forever. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, okay, this is what I feel. I feel all of this. What's reality? Well, reality is, you know what? I panicked. I panicked. I didn't want her to get hurt anymore. So I thought I was doing the right thing. And now I come to understand that's not true. That was not the right thing to do. And what I have to do is I have to chalk this up because you know what? This is all rather new to me, just like it is to her. And I'm not always going to get it right. Sometimes I'm going to make a mistake like this. What I have to do is try to learn as much as I can learn so that I make as few mistakes as possible. So now what's going to be the healthy decision to make? Well, you know what? I'm going to sit down and write her an apology letter for what I've done. But I'm also going to be telling her what I've learned from this. And moving forward, this is my commitment to her. If anything like that should ever happen again, I will immediately be bringing it to her attention to let her know. That is how we sit with our pain. We don't have to sit there with it for hours. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take that pain and ultimately turn it into rational thinking because the pain is emotional thinking. And you'll get too bogged down with that at times, because again, you'll start bringing into shame that you won't be able to figure out, okay, what is the right solution? What's the right choice to make so that I can try to get back on track and get things going? So I hope that helps somewhat.
And I think, I mean, Eddie does a really good job of reminding, I'm going to stay focused on this is the pain. So I think it's fair to also say, what I hear you saying is, and ask for clarifying, because then you're staying curious and you're staying engaged,
Yeah.
and it isn't all about running to my shame and, oh, I did this so terrible. I mean, it really is, like Eddie, the first story he started talking about, it's like, had the client checked in with his wife, do you want to stay at the theater? Should we go? Like,
Yeah.
tell me how you're feeling. I mean, it's so being curious, not, not in a icky way where you're, smothering the partner, but
Mhm.
asking questions, asking for, kind of taking the temperature of like what's going on, for you can help you stay out of yourself.
Right. And by the
That's
way, there's a whole chapter in here about the need for curiosity. So,
pre-order the book. It'll arrive next week. Okay. So often when a conflict happens with my sex addict husband, it has to do with not listening to my feelings, but making it about him and his. How do
right.
I get the focus back on me, the betrayed partner?
Okay. I think there's several things, and I'm going to answer this in a very general way because I don't have enough information here. Because this is one of these situations where I put both of you side by side and say, you tell me what's going on, you tell me what's going on, so I can get a more accurate view of it. But because I don't have all the details, I'll just tell you based on what you told me. What you're saying is, I want him to again focus back on me. And what you're also saying is, I've lost him. Okay. He went south on me. That's when you gotta say, hey, what's going on here? How come I don't have your attention? Why are you struggling right now with this? And yes, I know it sounds like we're tiptoeing. We're not tiptoeing. I'm just trying to get this thing resolved to the best we can so that she is feeling like, oh, I'm being heard. So therefore, what's going on? Do you need a break? If I give you 10 minutes of a break, will that be good for you to be able to come back to me so that you could hear my pain? Are you seeing my pain or are you seeing something else? What are you seeing? To better get a sense of what's going on with him so that you can, again, I don't want you doing this every time. He has to learn how to do it on his own. This is his responsibility. And for some reason, he's not learning that. And somebody has to teach him that. But based on what you're telling me here, that's the guidance that I would give you.
Yeah, and I have used this a lot. The story I tell myself. The story I tell myself when I share my feelings and you turn it to yours is that you're not able to hear my feelings. Is that accurate? And I mean, and it's just that I'm being curious about what's happening in the situation, but also, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're looking to have things be different, how can we approach things differently? And so hopefully those are helpful. Okay, next question. The tools are great and helpful for my SA who needs them to help his inner narcissist sit down. Oh, I love that phrasing. His inner narcissist to sit down. However, what I'm looking for next step is the ability to respond to me as an empathetic human being, to be curious, to ask what I need when I'm in pain, to keep saying or to keep staying open in the moment when he wants to say, but I use the tool and you're asking for more. What do you expect from me? My essay is learning to do this. That is progress and builds trust
Yeah.
as he sees me as a real human being. Thanks.
Okay. All right. This is not check the box. Okay, that's not what this is about. The tools that your counselor is giving you. Okay, it's not going to be okay. I did this. I did this. I did this. Why are you still upset? You're still upset. You shouldn't be upset. I did this. This is what I started with. Okay. Again, this is life. This is life. This is crushing pain. This is betrayal. This is deceit. This is tough stuff, folks. There's no check the box. What it has to be is the transformation of the heart so that after I use this tool and I don't get the result I want, that I sit there and say, okay, you want more? All right. What more tell me the more you need. I'll give it to you. Versus, didn't I give you enough? Think about that for a minute. All right. You want more from me. And you can't sit there to say, fine. What else you need? I'm here for you. Versus, isn't that enough? Because let me tell you something. I think she would have said a long time ago, you know what? Look what you gave me. Don't you think you've given me enough? And now you're saying you can't give me what I really need? You've certainly given me everything I don't need. Now I need something from you and you can't deliver it because it's not one of your tools. That's the immaturity we're talking about. That's the man who never grew up. And he still hasn't grown up. And he has to learn to grow up. I think I said enough, Tammy.
Well, and it's a toolbox. I think people go, oh, I have the tool, and I'm going to use a hammer on everything. And it's like, there's a whole box of tools that we need to use. And we need to know when to use this one and when to use that one. And sometimes it'll go, oh, I just used that one and it was so effective, but this situation, it isn't as effective. What do I need to do differently? So to be curious like that, this isn't working. what do you need from me? How can we change this? Asking instead of getting defensive. And my thought with that is, what more do you need from me? And it's off-putting. It's very
Mm.
off-putting and pushes away rather than brings into relationship. And which is, what I mean, I think any partner that has stayed with an addict and is still trying to mend things and have things heal and move forward, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
if addicts could take a look at that and go, I am really fortunate that this person is still here. Even if
Mhm.
we're squabbling and fighting about things, this person is still here, because with the stuff that I did, they should have been out the door. So,
Right. I mean, again, the whole idea of they're tools.
mhm.
Okay, that's what they are. They're tools. But they're not supposed to take the place of what our heart is and what our emotions should be and the way we should be thinking about what are the needs, the want, the desires of my thought. That's your most important tool you have, is that. Is to understand, to wonder what is it that they need from me that I have not delivered over the years. So,
And how do because if I haven't delivered it, I probably have no clue how to deliver
all
that.
right,
So,
right,
and how do I even get there? So,
right.
okay. As the addict who has caused all this damage, how do I move through the damage and seek emotional connection?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, see this to me is somebody who's saying, okay, you know what? I want to own what I have and I want to fix it. Okay. Well, first and foremost, you have to work on yourself. Okay. To understand, what's gone on here. Why do I deal with this? Develop the tools to be able to manage and cope with all of that. But then the other aspect of it is, and again, getting tired of holding up the book, but this is your answers in here. How do I seek emotional connection? And it's not just the emotional connection, it's also, again, to be able to, be alert, be mindful of those around you. Okay, so there are a lot, but that's a process. That's something that we're actually going to be looking at. Maybe formulating groups for things like this, doing a workbook for it. But it's going to be about you understanding, why did I shut down all these feelings, and being able to now start to put them in place. And I've told you about myself. Okay, this is a lifelong journey. That part of it. It is not something good. It's not something that comes natural to us. It's something that we really have to work at it. And sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Okay. That's just reality with it. There's nobody sitting there saying, oh, let me go turn on the emotion button and bang, here they all are. It doesn't work that way. So if you are committed to that kind of work, you can make substantial changes in your ability to love.
You mentioned 50% of your time you spend with men is to help them sit in pain. What methods do you use to teach men, the betrayer, to sit in the pain?
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying to you before. First and foremost is this, helping them to become aware of what those pain points are. Because remember, we've been pushing them away, pushing them away, pushing them away. So therefore, what they need to do is several times during the course of the day, they have to stop and they have to reflect just for a couple minutes. How am I doing? Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What's going on mentally? Am I sharp? Am I focused? Do I have a lot of racing thought? Do I have fantasy that's going on in my head? Do I have something that is pressing that I just can't let go? How am I doing emotionally? Have my mood shifted in the last couple hours? Do I feel different? Do I feel edgy? Do I feel tense? And then we go to physical, and that's the other part of it, the body. What did the body tell you? The body keeps score. It's an amazing book. Everybody should read it. But what's it telling me? Do I feel tightness in my chest, in my neck, all of this? And if through that you can determine, okay, all right, if I feel that, what am I upset about? What am I anxious about? And then, of course, spiritually, how close are you feeling to God? So that's the first aspect of it. And then after that, then helping them to identify and be able to sit, like I said before, I sit with the pain and then I take it and I put it to rational thinking. That's just a quick little overview of all of that.
And it's a process, and it's going to feel like checking off the boxes early on because they lack skills, but
No,
they can learn. I mean, the guys that are well, and the addicts that are willing to do the work, can change. And I know lots of people who are in recovery. Lots of us are, and we can learn and change. We're not magically the most 100% perfect. We're still human, but we have
right,
the ability to show up
right.
and be okay. So next question: do some men decide to walk away from their relationships rather than work on learning how to face their shame and their partner's emotions? Why?
Yes, there are. I will tell you, it has nothing to do with me, but in my practice, I've had few men who have walked away. Um, and I've had few women who've walked away too. But the reason for it is because, again, they don't know how to sit with emotional discomfort, and they don't want to. They don't want to. They refuse. Say, no, I'm not doing this. And therefore, it's just run. They just continue the same addictive behaviors that they've always had, and they don't want to grow up. And the why is they're afraid. They're afraid to touch that. They're afraid to touch that raw nerve because they don't know what else is going to come out, and they don't want to go back there. They just don't, and it's very sad. It's sad when you see it happen. I saw somebody who doing work with me. He was one of the rare people who ran away. He was doing pretty good work. He was doing okay, and we hit a certain topic, and boom, it was like, and I was like, okay, you know what, we'll slow it down. We'll slow it down. We don't have to go there right now. We'll back off a little bit. But he had it in his mind of, well, we're going to go back there. We have to go back there. And he blew everything up. He just blew it all up. He left the marriage, he left his wife, he left his kids. He just walked away from all because he didn't want to touch that one pain point. So that's the reason for why.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It's incredibly sad that somebody misses out on. I believe that we are to be connected in meaningful ways with other human beings, and to live in addiction is to continue to keep people pushed away. So, okay, the next one is a interesting comment. Thanks for your opinion that it's the betrayed partner's fault. Eddie, you don't know the entire situation. Of course, these are webinars. I'm sorry. These are A, he didn't say that. B, and I don't want to sound defensive, but these are webinars. These are of general information. We do not, this is not therapy. This is not treatment. We recommend that you work with a qualified professional to get the support that you need. So when there's domestic violence, there's never an okay for domestic violence, control, gaslighting, defensiveness, manipulation, lying, etc. That person's in active addiction. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So, and
Yeah. See, for me,
even,
go ahead. Go ahead. Finish the
well, it
question.
says, and you're not even living with them, and he's still can't handle difficult conversations. There's no hope.
If I would have gotten this at the beginning versus the other, you would have got a totally different answer from me. But I don't. Again, my heart breaks. You should not be living in this situation. And the question becomes, and again, there could be many circumstances. It could be from a financial standpoint. It could be a lot of things but why are you in that situation? And I know there are resources out there, and I know all the resources aren't the most, comfortable resources, but still, this is a man that Tammy said, who's still in addictive mode. And really all he cares about is him. It is unfortunate. It's extremely unfortunate. I'm sorry that you, and if you have any children, that you're just caught up in all of it, because you shouldn't have to live that way. So yes, there are many factors. None of this is black and white. And it's not even a gray in the middle. There's 1,000 shades of gray that are in the middle. And that's why we can't just say cookie cutter answer. Not a cookie cutter answer. We don't have any of those. That's why I told you, if somebody comes to me and a husband and he's saying, oh, you just don't understand. My wife made very different than other betrayal partners. Like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna bring your wife in. I want to talk to her. And I'm gonna talk to her. I'm gonna find out, tell me what's going on. Let me see. And then I'll get back to him and say, she's no different to everybody else. It's just that your expectations are off. So anyway, yeah, my heart goes out to you on this. I hope that you can eventually be able to find a solution, or that he wakes up.
Well, and there may be no hope for him, and I
May
hate to
not
say
be.
that with some addicts there isn't. What do you need to do for you to have safety for you? Because domestic violence, again, never okay. Yeah, having that kind of toxicity. What, like it says you're not living together. How can you have a boundary where he can't communicate with you? I mean, what do you need? Having a support network around you. I know lots of partners who stay in a relationship, but they for a variety of reasons, but they have a whole safety network set up so that the addict's behavior is less impactful. I'm sure it still annoys them, but it they're more indifferent. They have the ability to be indifferent because he just doesn't matter that much anymore. That their life is over here. He can do what he wants to do as long as it's not causing them to be unsafe. So,
Yeah,
okay,
but see, you could be dealing with a personality disorder also
correct.
with that.
Which that's a whole different thing
It
beyond,
is.
yeah, like, yeah, you were saying something earlier, and I thought, except if there's, I mean, there are psychological, psychiatric issues sometimes that play into this. So there's addiction, but there's also the
Right.
other thing.
Right.
We have clients, well, and there are some
Okay.
clients that we don't take because it really is more of a mental health thing than an addiction
Mm-hmm.
thing. So, okay,
Right.
2 more questions. Can you say something about male fragility and how it can functionally be controlling and self-defensive?
Oh, yes, absolutely. They could definitely use that. I mean, to be able to sit there and say, I can't deal with this anymore. It's hard. You don't realize what you're doing to me, and that how much is crushing me inside. I know the pain I put you through. I mean, many of us could get an Academy Award for what they do. And again, what that is just somebody who still haven't grown up. Somebody who's not sitting there to say, I will take responsibility for myself. Again, do not get the impression that what I was talking about earlier, that when a man starts to break down, that, oh, you know what, you have to pamper him. No, that's not it. All I'm saying is do yourself a favor before it escalates into something where it's just arguing back and forth. Because again, you do not deserve that. You don't deserve any more pain. To say, fine, you need a break, go take a break. I'll be here. I'm waiting. And
Yeah.
allow him to get himself back so he can come back. But yes, there are men. That's why, even when we talk about the idea of, hey, let's take a break and come back, I tell them, I go, do not use that. Do not use that just, to try to manipulate the situation, control the situation, because you're just taking a bad situation and you're making it worse. You need to grow up.
Well, and like the one person shared too, it's like he makes it all about him and his emotions, and that, just like you Academy Award demonstrated,
Yeah.
that, yeah, that is ultimately, none of that is helpful for the healing the relationship. So, okay, last question. As bad as my addiction has been, I realize it is but a small part of my destructive behaviors. That is fantastic insight. Now
Thank
that
you.
I have removed the acting out addiction, it has exposed so many other big character flaws. Most specifically, I find it even more difficult to control my moods. Any suggestions to help with this?
There's a
Oh,
whole section in
yeah,
the book
yeah,
about moods.
yeah.
About that. That's a big problem. That's here. It's all in there. So yes, there's so many things. Congratulations to you.
Yes.
This is what I love. This is what I live for. Tammy. I live for this. I live for what my clients sit here and say, before we before we begin, I have to tell you about this, this the thing that I've learned this week and that I've come to understand about myself. And it's just like, and they'll tell, I sit there and applaud.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for, because see, you are demonstrating this hunger to change. Yes, there are ways to control your mood. I don't have the time to get into it right now, but I promise you, starting here, bringing the book into your counselor, if you have a counselor, and saying, hey, buddy, you know what? I think we need to get into some of this stuff. I think it's going to help you tremendously. So good luck and keep up the good work.
And my moods don't have to control me. Like that was really useful to, like I'm in a bad mood. Well, I can change that, so what do I need to do to shift things? And also, what is my mood telling me? The hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I mean, there are some things that I go, oh, wait, I didn't sleep good last night. And I mean, whatever, or I'm hangry. Okay, well, that's really important to know. I'm going to go eat and then I'm going to see how I feel. So continuing to be curious about what is your mood telling you. But yeah, like I did feel early on that I felt a little bit like the pendulum swinging. I only was at neutral when it was going one extreme to the other. So learning to control that, but taking care of my physical body, getting the sleep, I'm doing those things, grounding exercises, whatever you need to do. But all of those are so valuable insights, and like this is what recovery brings, is the ability to to look at all of those character flaws. And I have to share one more quick thing. A lot of my character flaws are also my character strengths. They're just used in the wrong way. So understanding all of that, that they have a place. I just misused them. So, but yay for you. So
we all do, Tammy. We all do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you, Eddie. This has been awesome. Thanks all of you for joining. This recording will be posted on our sexandrelationshiphealing.com website. That one. Probably yet today. So take a look at that. Troy won't be here next week, but he'll be here the week between Christmas and New Year. So there won't be a Wednesday morning series next week, but there will be between the holidays. And then we'll start all over again in January. But go order that book. Go hold it up one more time. Order it.
To love, overcoming relational blind spots. Like I said, it may be available as early as Friday. So
awesome. All right. Thanks,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.